We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Welcome back to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey. I speak from the role of a patient, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey. I am Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver. And Mason just got something in his eye.
So if you see me like this...
I'm not sure. I was just trying to look at it. He was brushing his hair, and something got in his eye. So if you're noticing that, we'll, hopefully it'll clear up here in a minute.
So fine.
Way to open the show.
Yeah.
That's how we're starting today. And so today's show is just going to, I guess, kind of see if it corresponds with how you guys, our listeners, are. And we did a search we have it up right here on the screen in front of us so we can actively read it. And we just searched what were the most questions asked about IBD this week. And so this is just in Google AI was what we're using. So it's just going to be kind of interesting, I think, to see what everyone is looking for all over and see if this kind of corresponds to your questions. And then, maybe we'll see if it corresponds to our lives and also see if there's any topics here that seem relevant about doing a future podcast about, if that's what matters to people. Some of the top search questions. The first one is, what is the difference between IBS,
IBD.
one of your favorites? We have a whole podcast dedicated to this.
Yeah, so we actually have a whole video on that. So if you guys want to hear about that one, we have a video on it.
I think it's interesting because people probably searching for this may not be IBD patients too. They may be IBS. So it's always... because those sound so similar, IBS and IBD, people think it's like similar. It's not the same. And no matter how many times you try to explain to people, it's like, oh yeah, I have IBS. I get it. And it's like, it's like saying, I have a flu. I get, I think you.
I get, having allergic reactions.
I mean, I think you can relate on the sense of maybe understand how uncomfortable or painful something is if you've had these things, but it's just not the same. So that's a good question. And then another question is, which I thought was interesting. The next question was, what are the new oral small molecule therapies for IBD in 2026? And so small molecule drugs would be like a JAK inhibitor, like Rinvoq. It's not a biologic. And so I think that's interesting. And the way it breaks it down, like if you see there, this search volume spiked, and it's regarding a shift away from traditional biologic infusions toward targeted oral options. And so they have some next generation, like they call them the next generation, which is JAK inhibitors and S1P receptor modulators. Now, I'm not super familiar with the S1P receptor modulators.
Hey,
so
that might be the next video.
That's what, So I was kind of like, oh, that's something to look into. And again, this disease is so different for everybody that there's multiple ways to treat it. It's always welcome to see new things because some people, aren't going to react to the small molecule therapies and they will still need the biologics. So the good news is everyone is still working on all of these things and there's new stuff too. Yeah. So kind of cool. So I don't know how people knew to search for that. There must have been something on social media or an article.
Pills, And also something interesting for me is because the JAK inhibitors are a pill you would take daily, right? Yeah, daily. Yeah. To treat Crohn's disease or, whatever.
Or also, ulcerative colitis
too. But the funny thing is, I would rather have a biologic personally. Now, there's someone out there who will do that because they're used to taking pills daily and stuff.
And they're so afraid of the injections, or just don't want to deal with that. They think, hey, but some people like you. Yeah.
But what's fun is because when I was first diagnosed, I was like, why isn't there just a magical pill I could take like daily that would help it? But the funny thing is, after I was taking so many pills, after being diagnosed and hospitalized, taking so many pills daily was tiring, exhausting, having to remember everything. And, it's a pain to have to remember. And then when you say we're leaving to the hospital early, and then I need a pill to be taken at 8:30 and we have to leave at 8:15. Then you have to take it while you're driving, and that's not fun. And so personally, I prefer getting an injection or infusion because I only have to worry about getting that, once every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And when I was diagnosed, I would have been like, why would you have preferred a shot?
Right. You would
But that's just
never.
personally how I feel. Now, there's someone out there who is like, the JAK inhibitors work great for me. And if that's the case for you, that's great to hear.
Because some people are used to already taking some kind of pill or medication supplement daily. So for them, it's like just throw another one in there.
Yeah.
But for some people, like, and I think I'm with Mason on this, is that there is kind of like a luxury to people just have one shot and then you don't have to think about it.
Don't have to think about it for like the next 4 weeks or
or some people 8 weeks. Yeah. So
and also the thing is, because remember how my treatment regimen is twice the dosage of a normal person instead of 8.
Yeah, we were curious how that would translate with Rinvoq.
And so I'm assuming that I would have to take 2 JAK inhibitors a day, 2 pills.
I know, and
I don't know how that would work.
Yeah,
but
sure. And unfortunately, you would have to learn by taking it and having some problems before they figure out what you need. The another question that's been asked is, do advanced IB therapies increase the risk of shingles? And so
I'd never heard
again,
this question, so that's
somebody either it looks like this was the source was YouTube here. So it looks like somebody's, people were searching for this because there's either something they watched, they heard, and it also says something about the necessity of shingles vaccination. So I think people are curious, like, hey, do I need to get a vaccination? And so, and interestingly, what's funny is now thinking about it, in the past week, even in the Facebook groups I'm in, I have seen the shingles question come up. It's interesting to me that there must have been something they'd heard too, and that's why they're in the groups talking about it.
Well, what I think would be really funny is if the Google AI was able to say, this question was one of the most asked one. Here's how many people asked it, and it's like 5 people.
I know, because
like, wow, there's a lot of people here.
We don't know like how many. It's like so. Yeah, so that's a good point too. It's like maybe
here's another question: how many people are searching about IBD on a daily basis? Or are they just going to Wikipedia and it's like, oh no?
And if we're writing a paper, that's something we probably should be doing if we're doing a research paper. But it is interesting because I did see the shingles conversation come up a few times. So that does correlate. Mm-hmm. And another question, can GLP-1 drugs improve Crohn's and colitis outcomes? And so that is the GLP-1. I believe that's the drug people are taking to lose weight as well. That's what they're doing. I think people are curious. They're hoping that maybe they can take that and it may also help their Crohn's. And interesting that I have actually seen this also. This same question in the groups I'm in. It is a popular question right now. Some people do claim in the groups, again, this is not research, this is just people talking in there, that it has helped. Other people, it has made it way worse. I don't see any.
I'm going to have my opinion on this. And you have Crohn's disease, and you're like my case where you were really sick and you were losing weight and you're having trouble gaining weight.
Keep it on,
I don't think taking a GLP-1 to treat the disease, which is a drug supposedly that will help you lose weight while already losing weight, is not a great idea.
Right. It can be very and so that's why this would be something that would be you really would need to discuss with your doctor because I would think for some it's like absolutely not recommended. Maybe for someone else the doctor's recommending it for whatever purposes. But interesting that that's being discussed. I have seen that, and I have seen people asking if it helps the disease. I think the GLP-1 or whichever ones there was ones to treat diabetes, and then they figured out that people without diabetes could take it and they could because it affects your digestive process. So also something to consider if you already have a problem with your digestive system. This is why this would be a big question to me, a big concern.
I mean, these are all interesting things that could be their own podcasts.
Right. So anyways, that's kind of interesting. And then this was funny. What is the Spill Your Guts campaign?
I just saw that really quick.
Yeah. And that is through the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. You might see, like, I've seen this several times. It's like they call it the high profile PSA campaign that's aimed at breaking the stigma around permanent ostomies and invisible illnesses. And so I'll see things from time to time. They typically pick influencers or people who have more social media presence. It's an interesting campaign. I have my own thoughts on it. And that's their way of raising awareness. I think that probably sounds awful to you. Spill your guts, right? You're like, really?
I'm hearing that and I'm going, Their guts, yeah.
And I mean, it is funny. Someone thought of that and like, to spill your guts, like tell your story. And then the other one's like, oh, it's perfect.
Someone working at the Crohn's Colitis is a surgeon, and they were sitting at the surgeon table, and they're going, "If I make a mistake and they fall over, this will be a really good name for the
Sounds, I know. It's kind of,
name."
yeah.
I mean, it's a smart wording.
And the funny thing is, I'm more used to it because I've seen it, and since you really
And
have
I
it, you're like, oh, what is that?
Mhm.
So it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Maybe consider these things. I mean, because to the general public, like maybe
if it was save your guts.
right, because I think to the general public,
Yeah.
things are kind of gross sometimes, or like you don't want people to be like
Ooh.
not a
Yeah.
like grossed out by the community or thinking, ew, it always has to do with because it's not always about that, but I see where they're going
I
for.
could see what they're going for is spill your guts, as in
Tell your story,
like, yeah, spill the information, and so they're telling their story.
and it's literally about your
Yeah,
gut.
your guts. But I feel like if you're someone who doesn't have Crohn's or
Right.
ulcerative colitis, and you're looking at that and you're going,
Yeah.
okay,
Sometimes I'm
kinda
not sure.
creepy.
Like, it's like, are you just, I mean, if you're targeting just the IBD community,
Which is great because
then that's one
yeah,
thing. But if you are trying to do a campaign to raise awareness,
then it should probably be like save your guts.
sure, yeah, I'm
Save
sure.
yourself.
Anyways, I hadn't really thought about it too much till I just saw that in your reaction
Yeah,
to
that-
it. Made me think about it. And then I looked up, instead of just IBD, I did a specific, the most searched Crohn's disease questions, not to leave out ulcerative colitis, but I was curious just to see which, if we picked one,
what it would do.
if it was different than the IBD topics. It was. One of the most searched topics was, what is the BIRC3 gene mutation in Crohn's disease? And they're explaining the reason for the surge in searches is because there was a study. It's called Sick Kids is who led it. Sick Kids.
Well, here
And,
it goes naming again.
I know. And they're linking variations in the BIRC3 gene to a specific rare form of Crohn's. And so I think people are trying to figure out when your kids have this. And Mason has had genetic testing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, this is interesting to me because they were looking for a specific gene mutation because Mason was such a difficult case to treat. And so they thought maybe it was a rare form of the disease. And
I got the ultra rare version.
so he got the genetic tests, he did all that, and then it turned out no, he was not a carrier of that. Now,
Yay.
that's probably different than the BIRC3.
Yeah.
If that is newer, what would be interesting is
another one done.
we already have this study because it's been
Okay.
done, is maybe to revisit and see like, hey, was this maybe there? So I think some parents are curious because they're trying to link things, and for some people there's not going to be that. It's just not
There.
going to be there. But interesting, right? I'd
Yeah,
like to
it
learn
is
more about that.
These are all good podcast topics.
And then the next one is, can intermittent fasting lower Crohn's disease inflammation? And this was actually the most searched. This was like it looks like through the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation was this one.
I think it depends.
I don't want to speak too much on this because I am not an expert. Again, for someone like Mason, like they did try to do gut rest where they, and they did try to do different things. And maybe for some people, if food is an issue, so I don't know enough about this, honestly, but it's an interesting thing to look into. But for Mason, it's never something that's been recommended.
Because here's the thing, like we said, we're not, really well versed in this. And I'm just speaking on behalf of my opinion on what my hypothesis is, which can be wrong, obviously.
Mhm.
And it can just be an opinion too. But when I was hospitalized and I was on gut rest for 4 weeks, I also had an infusion that was putting iron and all the stuff, and it was giving me my body what I needed because the Crohn's disease that I had was causing me to be malnourished because I wasn't absorbing the proper nutrients.
Right.
And so I think in the case where someone potentially, this is my hypothesis, could be wrong. In the case where someone is
Like starving themselves.
starving themselves and they're already malnourished and they're currently in a flare and their body is already having trouble, no, I would not recommend doing that. You'd have to talk to your doctor, see what you can eat. Personally, when I go into a flare and it gets bad, we try to make my diet a little more simple, like eggs, rice, chicken. Things that are easy for the body to break down, but you're still getting those healthy nutrients that your body needs. And so if you fast while you're on a flare and you are in a case where you can be malnourished,
Mhm.
I would not say that's a good idea because you're putting more stress on your body and not giving it what it needs to help. Now, that's just my idea. That could be wrong.
But I think so. Part of the problem with this is that they think the search volume was due to a randomized clinical trial that showed structured intermittent fasting cut the disease activity by 40%.
Hmm.
That would be huge. And
Yeah.
a randomized clinical trial, like, so,
Randomized.
a lot of times what is frustrating to me is things give false hope, or
Mhm.
you have someone do it and everything now looks official on social media. Everyone thinks because something is posted with a headline that it's like official.
Hey, you put it into an AI generator and say, hey, can you make this look official? Yeah, sure
That's the
spit
thing
it
that's
out in 10
scary to me.
seconds.
And anybody can say anything and not back it up, and people just jump on, I'm going to try this. So again, this is interesting. People are searching this.
Before you do something that can affect your health, make sure you talk to your
Right.
doctor.
Well, that's what you hope, that someone's like, I'm not just going to try this and then tell my doctor it didn't work. And,
And also
you know,
my reasoning for saying I don't believe will work because when I was being put onto food slowly after the gut rest to see if there was anything that would affect me so we would know what not to eat, nothing helped me. And so not eating didn't really seem to help much.
no, it didn't.
And so for me, I don't think that's a great idea, obviously, at all. For me, it's
So,
biologics. But, talk to your doctor before you decide to do something.
yeah, but I
That
don't
is
know. I
very
really
important.
don't know. And I'm not personally a fan of it, but some people might, and they
Yeah.
may be like, hey, I do that and it works for them. But anyways, just that's a search. We're not another search that people again was, does Omvo give 3-year remission for Crohn's? That's a really specific search.
Did one person search this? Like,
Yeah.
how is this so specific? This OVO gives a 3-year remission.
So
By three.
I think what it is there's an
Okay.
article released, Eli Lilly. They have a new trial that is saying it sustained 3-year remission rates. So
Hmm.
what is getting people to do what this says is by doing this, their patients are asking their doctors if they can switch to Omvo because they've heard. So some of this might be just hype from the company to get people to take their drug, and maybe they do have 3-year remission rates. Mason's been in remission for a while now.
Now remember, if the thing is, which these people might be unaware of, is remission doesn't exactly mean you don't have to worry about taking anything anymore. Remission means you still have to take something while feeling good,
Mhm.
but there's still a chance of you can go down into a flare, but you still have to take something whilst being in remission. And I don't know how it would work with Omvo, but I assume it will be the same thing because I don't think you can take a biologic and be fine for 3 years.
Well, I just
Uh,
think it's weird. Like, why would you be like, I just hope I'm in remission for 3 years?
yeah.
Like, that is such a weird thing. And their study must have shown 3 years, but to me,
Like-
I wouldn't be happy with that.
Like if it said a long time,
I want
but
long-term
so specific,
remission.
3 year.
Because then it's like, wow, in 3 years, you're going to be searching for something else. But, you'll have 3 good years. I mean, with Mason's drugs, it was always like he would go into remission. This would be like a lifetime thing. So that's an interesting.
So that means you'll only be like.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's just a search. I don't really know. We haven't. It's not like we've researched the
We haven't
article.
researched-
What
So
happened?
this is good to research because we don't really know what these
No.
people are searching.
Some other people have searched what are the 2026 guidelines for moderate to severe Crohn's. I do think that's probably a good search because I think people should know where you fall into with your, if you've been diagnosed as severe or moderate, it is good to understand these things and understand the treatment options at the different guidelines for your severity and the treatments for them. So I think that's a good search. This is one. Okay, you see it.
Oh no.
Can surgery fully cure Crohn's disease? Or this remains a highly searched educational question. I think people are always searching this because they think, like with ulcerative colitis, if you remove the colon, but ulcerative colitis is not like Crohn's, where Crohn's can continue to pop up in other areas.
Yeah, Crohn's is like a weed, you chop it down in one section,
Right.
and you know what it does? It grows up in another section.
So it's not say surgery can help because it's going to help a specific problem, but it's not going, it's just going to help it, like it says, the localized damage. So it can help that problem. Even having your colon removed, it can help that as well, but it can still pop back up somewhere else. So
The key word here is it should be, can surgery help treat Crohn's
Right.
disease. The word here that is causing the problem is fully cure.
And I think people are searching for this because they've heard of ulcerative colitis, and there's a confusion there. And I think people, especially like not blaming the Crohn's and colitis Foundation,
No.
but when you always group Crohn's and colitis, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, they're under
It
IBD.
seems like they're kind of like the
A lot of
same.
people, I think, are thinking, well, if surgery took care of that person, can it? And unfortunately, and just in our experience, not the case. But so people are still looking because I think they're hoping that will just take care of it. Another popular question, I can see why this is a popular question. Are there non-invasive ways to check if Crohn's is coming back after a surgery? Even if Crohn's, if you're going to a flare, people are looking for ways to avoid colonoscopies. And it's understandable.
Yeah.
It's a lot to put your body through multiple times. And so
I mean, there is a newer thing. It's the ultrascan.
the ultrasound.
The ultrasound, yeah.
Yeah,
Ultrascan.
but your doctor doesn't recommend it, which is
Which is
interesting.
weird. I mean, it seems to be pretty good. And I mean, I feel like it must be good. If there's a lot of people who are being trained on
Right.
it, it must be.
But for
Yeah,
some,
for some reason, she doesn't recommend it. There's
Yeah.
also MRIs, which, I mean,
but I think people consider that almost invasive
yeah,
as
'cause
well.
it's not as invasive as, getting,
So like what people are looking for says is
colonoscopy,
fecal biomarkers, Mace.
Yeah.
So that would be like a calprotectin. So they're
No.
looking at other ways just to kind of check on it. And actually that's what Mason's doctor is doing right now, doing calprotectin tests, because when Mason has traditionally had scopes,
Mhm.
he will flare.
Yeah.
And so the concern is there's some concern she has with Mason's elevated calprotectin scores, but then it's like, do you run the risk of doing an MRI, which is less invasive than a colonoscopy for sure, but there's still some stuff involved with that. It's like, do we do these things or do a scope and risk Mason going into a flare which is what you're trying to see if he's going into, and say he wasn't, now he is.
Yep.
So
I mean, the calprotectin will help to see, but the thing is, you're probably going to have to still do scope
Right.
or an MRI, but
it's interesting because
You know.
people are just, they're hoping, and I do hope there are new ways. I'm curious more to see how that ultrasound does play out as more places get them. The problem is not enough hospitals have them, so I don't think they have the statistics yet. I do know that they're supposed to be really good, and so I don't know, but his doctor's not a fan. So then I instead of saying what were the most searched, I said what were the most Googled, because search takes another count. I want to see if people just went to Google and didn't see if there's anything different. They were looking up, there was an article, I guess, on targeting AIEC bacteria. This search spiked. It was after a study was done that showed, it says, how selective predatory viruses can strip harmful E. coli strains of their ability to bind to the gut lining. So, I mean, we're not looking into this, but this is just something people obviously read this article. They saw the study and they're like, want to look that up. Steroid reduction. I think that would be a normal thing people, because steroids are not great for you. And they're, it's unfortunate they do a lot of harm while they're doing good. So
good, yep.
It makes sense why people are like, how do I get off these things? And then I'm not going to look like too far in it, but there's new medications people were searching. So we're just going to kind of skip over that. But somebody was looking up fiber and intestinal worms. People, that's
What's a fiber worm?
I don't really know. Dietary fiber. I'm not going to read that.
That's
but
gross.
yeah, so people were looking that up. But I'm wondering if that has something to do with what I'm going to talk about in a second. Also, they also have the spill. So Google also, it's the Spill Your Guts campaign.
Here we go again.
Was another search topic. And so
Save your guts.
So say what you want to guess about how bad it sounds. It is getting headlines
is.
and it is getting people to search. So maybe, that's helpful. And so we're going to kind of wrap this up. I want to talk about it is the Cyclospora. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Okay.
Outbreak. And I think that's why people might have been searching about parasites. So there is an outbreak. It's, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I did Google this too. That's been going across the United States. And a lot of IBD patients have been talking about this because it will affect, it gives you the same kind of, really bad symptoms, kind of like a bad Crohn's flare. And so they're very afraid of getting it and getting very ill. And so anyways, it just people were looking into this. I did see that, and it kind of correlates with what I've seen in the IBD groups. And so, so I'm not going to go too into it because we don't know a whole lot about that. And hopefully this passes. Hopefully a lot of people are okay. It does say that nearly 100 people have been hospitalized nationwide. No deaths have been reported. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, not the hospitalization part, but
No, but no deaths.
No deaths.
Right. And that's as of when we're filming today, hopefully, and but that's it's a gross way it is spread. How it happens, but it's been tied to fresh produce. And so a lot of people are being really careful about what they're eating right now. And in the IBD group, so I've seen this question a lot in the IBD group, so I do know it's being searched in connection with the disease.
I like what AI decided to bold.
I know.
Why would you do this? It was so unnecessary.
It's in quotes, right?
Yes, we're not gonna say that because I don't think
you can search it. It's it's funny because we have this conversation. It's a joke in our house, like how people will describe certain aspects of the disease, and it's like, why?
So descriptive.
But you'll see. Yeah. So, anyways, so that's kind of our show today. We have a lot to do as well, and I'm working on making lesson plans because our plan over here is to take the newest book that we just did and have a lesson plan and hopefully get it into classrooms. I think it would be great to raise awareness for the disease, for blood donations, for, empathy, all kinds of things. And so I've been working on that, and that's taking a lot of time. Mason
has a 30-page essay.
He's got a huge essay that's going to be due here in a few weeks. So, and
actually, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because he's taking 2 classes at our community college over the summer.
I'm thankful that I'm doing it over the summer and not during the fall semester when I have like 4 other classes.
Right? That's a silver lining. It's one of our lessons.
Now, in the comments, I need you guys to tell me, has anyone ever had to write an essay that isn't double spaced?
Yeah, so it's a 10 to 15 page single space.
Yeah, it's weird because like a third because double space is MLA format. And it's weird that college class, is like, don't double space.
It's a single space.
That's what all the teachers are like, guys, do the MLA format. Make sure it's double space. And this class is like, we don't like double spaces. You shouldn't use double spaces.
And it's been a great class. Your professor, you really like him. So it's just so I got my advice to Mason was start working on it now. Oh, yeah. He's already been working on it, but start writing it because if you have that, it's due in 2 weeks, and then he has a speech to give. I advised him to start writing that now, so that way he can chip away at it and have a good quality project. And who knows, it may turn into our next podcast. It probably will. Maybe we'll talk about it.
If that turns into the next podcast, it's going to be like 3 hours long.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to obviously not talk about it like that, but we'll
have to talk in non-double space.
Yeah, so. I'm always good at editing things for the podcast, so you would not just read it; it would be talking about what you wrote. Yeah. So I think that would be might be appropriate. I don't know. We'll see. You might be over it. And just
side effects might include headaches, frustration, tiredness.
I know. So that's so we each have our own work to do today, and so that's what we're going to be working on. But we want to. I always think it's interesting. Sometimes I know these are like. It's not super informative, but I think it's interesting for us to look through with you guys and see what people are looking for. And then you tell us maybe like what you've been searching.
The question that you've been searching.
Right. And what would you like to see us talk about? Yeah. And so sometimes we do these searches. It helps us see what we should talk about and address because it's what's relevant. So it does help, but it's always interesting to see. Yeah. I think with that, we're kind of done with, we're done. And you guys can check us out on Instagram at Team IB Determined. The Reggie Project is another one to follow, something we're still, we'll be integrating probably more with the lesson plan, which I'm excited about. Yeah. But anybody can do this. And then you can listen to us on any podcast station like iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can refer to our website link to see where else you can listen. Mm-hmm.
And if you want to watch us and see that face I made when I heard Spill Your Guts, you can watch us on YouTube. There's also a YouTube podcast. You can watch us on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, make sure to hit that bell icon. And, please leave some comments. Do you have any questions about, like, what did we miss today? Did you find anything interesting? What did you learn?
Right.
Did you have a question that wasn't in that Google search. That
Or
is
were you
important
one of
to
those searches?
Or,
And you
yeah,
can say,
one of
I
those
did
searches,
look
yes.
that up. That was
And you
me,
said,
you
yes,
know?
I saw the words that the AI bolded for one of those questions, and yeah, I was really cursed.
And maybe, yeah. So we'd love to hear about it, even if it's like something about the intermittent fasting. And
Yeah.
despite what we think, it's still interesting to hear your thoughts and maybe how it's affected you. So that's
Or the critical thinking, where I believe that's the one, where it's that two polar opposites can be right
right. So
at the same time.
sometimes, and that's what's always interesting to me is sometimes things like that's why something could actually be wrong for Mason, but right for somebody else. So they could both be correct that Mason could say it doesn't work because it doesn't work, but someone else could say it does because it did for them.
And
So
in the truth, yes, both of those people are right.
So yeah, so with that, guys, I think we're going to get to work here and let you guys go. And we hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll be back here and see you in 2 weeks
And then the next
for the next episode.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Have a great day.
Thank you
And
for listening.
thank you for listening. Enjoy asking questions. Try to get yourself in the top questions by asking it over and over. Don't do that.
No.
Have a good day.
All right.
And
Yeah.
we'll see you in the next episode.
All right. So we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to play something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.